There is a new support for women and families who lose a baby through miscarriage. Holding Hearts Gloucestershire was set up by Jessica Parry from Newent at the time. And as a result of her own experiences of recurring early pregnancy loss, and to have that happen once is obviously devastating, but to have it happen again and again, so difficult to deal with. Well, Jess has been raising money to buy baby loss books for the Gloucestershire Royal Infirmary and for making small resin hearts to give to couples as a little memento, something they can just hold on to treasure after losing a baby. We last spoke to her 2 years ago, and she's back in the studio with me now. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
We need to catch up, girl, because so much has
happened.
happened. So much has happened. Well, let's start with all the good news, because obviously when we first spoke to you, there was so much difficulty and upset in your life, in your with your partner as well, because you had been experiencing and continuing to experience miscarriages and just that, you know, soul destroying loss of the life that you were hoping for, and how much of an impact that was having, and we will obviously talk more about that in a minute. But the good news is a lot's happened baby wise since last we saw each other. So what's been going on?
Well, we have 3 children now. So last time I spoke to you, we had one, and we'd had 2 losses. And unfortunately, the rule, Tommy's doing a big campaign at the moment, but there's a rule on loss that you have to have 3 before they investigate the reason why. So we were on number 2, and they didn't do anything for us. It was just sort of keep trying and see what happens. So when I actually spoke to you, I came into the studio in 2017, and I was actually pregnant, and I didn't realise.
You didn't know. I certainly didn't know. But that pregnancy was successful.
Yes. So that was our little Harry. So he is now 4, which is mental because he's about to go to school and I can't cope. And we actually we had 2 more losses after Harry, but then we had another baby last year as well. So 3 and done.
Look at that.
I'm signing
so
out.
9, 4 and 1 now at the
Yes.
age of the bubs, and they're all going great guns. But obviously that, which is fantastic news, and I'm thrilled to bits for you, and I know everybody who knows you will be too. But as you mentioned there, in between there's other stories, isn't there? And the losses are no less keenly felt for the fact that you've had successful pregnancies in between.
Yeah, it was really difficult. And I think because we never knew why it happened to us, we did actually, with the 4th loss, they did start to investigate, although it wasn't... they weren't right after another. We had a successful pregnancy in between. Because of the circumstances of our loss, they said we will actually investigate this. And it was actually chromosomal abnormalities that we had with our losses. So there seemed to be a reason for it, but they couldn't understand why it was happening. But yeah, we obviously had to have a lot of investigation, and we worked really closely with the hospital during that time. And there was a nurse practitioner in particular, Laura, she's amazing, and she really helped us out. And I guess I just sort of wanted to give back and do something to help others. Yeah. But then obviously we had a success story in the end. We had another successful pregnancy,
which is lovely, and you know, to hold on to for other people to see, you know, in all the struggles and the pain, there can be something, you know, successful that comes out of that, despite everything. But I wonder then, when you did have your pregnancies that came to term, and obviously you've got these lovely 3 children now, that's, you can't relax, you can't enjoy the pregnancy. Well, can you enjoy the pregnancy in the same way at all?
It's a different thing completely. It's pregnancy after loss. It's like a new world. It's a completely different experience. You everything about your pregnancy is more stressful. Everything's heightened. Any sort of sign and symptom with Ivy, my first, I didn't even know what was going on. So I'd have my midwife checkups, and I didn't really know what was happening to my body. But with Harry and with Theo, it was just every tiny ache and pain. It was, what's happening? Something's wrong. It doesn't feel right, and it was really, really tricky.
It's reading or misreading your body. You don't know, do you? You don't know what is that, but what is that? And is there too much movement? Is there not enough movement? What's that? So do you get a lot of extra support going through a pregnancy like that?
You should.
Right.
The problem with the 3rd was that 2 months before I found out I was pregnant, we went into a national lockdown. So everything stopped. I couldn't see my midwife. We were supposed to have an early scan. I wasn't eligible because I couldn't go into the hospital because of the COVID rules. It was full lockdown. So everything that I had sort of planned in my head as a coping strategy, it will be okay because we've got an early scan. It was all cancelled. It was, no, we can't do that anymore. You're on your own, really. That's how it felt. The early pregnancy assessment unit at Gloucestershire Royal are absolutely fantastic. There's not a lot of them, and the support is just so limited. But they actually, there was a nurse practitioner there who contacted me when she found out that I was pregnant, and she was on the phone whenever I needed her. So where other services sort of, I guess, were strained, they couldn't help me, they did, and they tried their best, and it was just exactly what I needed. So if I was having a bad day, if I was a bit stressed, if I was worried, I knew that I could ring them and, you know, they could give me some uplifting words or, you know, just...
So how important was that then to have that?
It was honestly
when it happened?
invaluable. It was just everything I needed. It was such a stressful time. And to know when you have a pregnancy after loss, the scans are unbelievably stressful. I mean, I had migraine every time I knew I was going to get a scan.
Is that often how you would find out then that you were losing or had lost your baby was through the scan?
Yeah.
Right.
So with all the other losses, I had quite an early scan. So each time, that's when I'd find out. So with lockdown, I couldn't take my husband with me. So I was completely on my own.
Oh, gosh.
And that was absolutely terrifying. The early pregnancy assessment unit, they actually organised for the bereavement midwife to come with me because she knew that I was so stressed that I couldn't do it on my own. And honestly, that support, I just wish it had been available for everybody. I'm not sure that there were many people that were in my situation. I mean, if people were experiencing a first loss or, you know, a first pregnancy, they could still be anxious. They potentially didn't have access to that support, and that is just such a shame because you just need it. You really need it.
And people think, perhaps, you know, most people think, oh, the scan's an exciting time and we can take a little picture home. And it can be, of course, and we hope that it is. But you've got to be aware that it can mean something completely different for some people and obviously for you.
And it was never...
Very much so.
I don't think we ever kind of enjoyed a scan. I mean, everyone that my husband came to, he just had to look away until they said, everything's okay. You know, he couldn't even look at the screen. I mean, it's a very different experience, pregnancy after loss, and I think there is so much that can be done to help support these sort of women, couples, you know, that feel like they're on their own. Hence, I came last year with an idea. To help those women. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, we'll take a break and then we'll hear more about that idea and how you've reached out when, and to be honest, it would be quite understandable for a lot of people that you would kind of like huddle, you know, within the couple and at home. But instead, Jess decided to sort of reach out to other people who were having the same experience. So we'll hear more in just a moment. So I'm talking to Jess today, Jess Perry, because I first met Jess when she got in contact some years ago now. Where does the time go? It certainly flies by, doesn't it? And she was talking about her experience of baby loss and, you know, the efforts, the joy and also the terrible pain of trying to have a family and having repeated loss of a baby through miscarriage. And since then, there has been good news with 3 successful pregnancies and 3 children. She's now got a 9, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, but there also have been losses, more miscarriages in between. And so you could understand that Jess might have, you know, wanted to sort of hold that within, but instead she's been very open talking about it and trying to help and support other women and families who lose a baby in same circumstances. Holding Hearts Gloucestershire, set up then by Jess from Dimmock as a result of her own experiences of recurring early pregnancy loss. And she's been raising money to buy baby loss books for the Gloucestershire Royal Infirmary and for making small resin hearts to give to couples as a little memento, something that can be a little sort of moment for them after losing their baby. We last spoke 2 years ago, and she's back in the studio now. So tell me a little bit more then about how you came up with the idea and you know what you've been doing, because you've been raising money. You've been busy. You've been busy as mum of three. Thank you very much. You've been busy.
I know. Tell me about it. If 3 kids wasn't enough. So I had to use the early pregnancy assessment unit at Gloucestershire a lot of times. We were regular visitors. We should have had a season pass. And one of the advanced nurse practitioners, when we were in sort of the final time that we had to go in to see her, she was just sort of, I could really get her passion for wanting to help others. And there's so much that she wanted to do in the unit. She had loads of ideas, and she was kind of talking to us about it, and it ignited a fire, really, because I thought, that sounds like amazing, being able to help people. And they have actually, with the help of For Lou, which is another baby loss charity, they've actually just created a quiet room within the unit, which is where you can go if you've received bad news in your scan. You can go into this quiet room. They've had this wonderful mural painted, and there's lots of things in there that you can take away with you. So there's little baby lost bears, there's the holding hearts that I've put in, there's baby lost books, you know, there's lots of things that you can sit in there, you can reflect, and you don't have to be in the waiting room with the other women, which
would have been the case up until that, which that's going to be a particularly tough.
And that's something that I always found that really hard.
So you get this devastating news, and then you have to walk out, and there's lots of other pregnant people there straight in front of you.
All in the same unit.
Wow.
So I remember very vividly with our second loss, when we were in the unit, and we'd just been in, we'd had our scan, we'd been told there wasn't a heartbeat, so to wait back in the waiting room. And as we were waiting there, another lady came out, and she was like laughing, and she was on FaceTime, and she was taking photos of a scan. And I just remember being sat there, like, I felt so exposed, because I had nothing. I had nothing to take away with me. I didn't even have any sort of distraction, and, you know, I just wanted something to hold, or just something to keep my hands busy so that I could concentrate on something. And that was sort of the idea of Holding Hearts. I wanted something physical that you could actually take away with you. I've actually got a heart, and I keep it in my coat pocket, and it's a bit of a stress reliever from time to time. You know, if I
touch
rub
it, you can
it's just nice
fiddle with it. You can hold it.
It can fit in the palm of your hand, and it's just a really nice thing. You can take one away with you if you want to put it in a drawer and you don't want to think about it again. You know, it's just something nice to have as a memory.
So this room has transformed things, even just having that room, hasn't it? Without having the things within that you're helping with.
And so they sort of created the room, they created the space, and the nurses within the unit really wanted to get some books in there. Also, the bereavement midwife, Nikki Dobson, who works at the hospital, I actually lost my niece in October. She was full term, almost full term. So that was a very traumatic experience for us all. And my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law were really closely with Nikki at the hospital. So she was sort of a familiar face, and I got chatting to her, and she said about how much these books are needed. So we kind of went down the book route as well. So originally the plan was just for the Holding Hearts. And then I thought, well, actually, every loss is a loss. I want to make this accessible for everybody that loses a baby at Gloucestershire Hospital, be that at 5 weeks or at 40 weeks. You know, I just want this available. So Holding Hearts was born, and now we try and raise money to buy baby loss books. So there's 2 books at the moment that we buy, which is the Baby Loss Guide and also Pregnancy After Loss.
And they're both by Zoe Clark Coates.
Yes. And they are just really useful books. Sometimes when you had a loss, you don't realise how much something like that, how valuable that will be to you. And at the time, when it first happens, you think, I don't need that. That's, you know, I can't deal with that now.
Can't deal with that, yeah.
But actually, they become such a support. It's such a lovely thing to have on offer. People can take it. They don't want to deal with it for a few months, a year, that's fine. But they have it.
It's there.
And they don't have to pay for it. They don't have to go to a shop, and the triggers aren't there then. You know, they just have it, and they can use it when they want it. And that is what we really are trying to do.
Well, do you know what? I mean, hats off to you for making that effort, and to have that, you know, to put your energy into that, because I think there will be a lot of couples who will be quietly very grateful for that. And I know, over speaking to people over years, that the memories and the loss of one miscarriage, let alone multiple miscarriages, never goes away. And I've spoken in the past about this, and then you hear from somebody who's, you know, in their 50s, 60s, who's it just never goes away, you know, and those recognising those children that would have been are just as vital as the children, hopefully, that, you know, that do come along. So I know how important that is. So respect you, and on behalf of a lot of couples, you know, I thank you. So is that going to be it now? Are you going to draw back, or are you how do I surprise myself by hearing that?
We need more. My husband always tells me off because he says, "What have you done now?" Because I'm always taking on new projects. But this is something that I'm really passionate about. So this is definitely a passion project. I want to give back. I guess something sort of in the name of the babies that I lost, I guess. Something that justifies the loss. And we have already supplied about 50 books. We want more. Obviously, the books cost a reasonable amount of money. So it's between like £6 and £9 for the books. The funds that we've done so far, we've done a couple of raffles, and we've bought the books and dropped them off, and they've all gone. So I mean, between 5,000 and 6,000 women pass through just Gloucestershire Early Pregnancy Baby Unit, which is a phenomenal amount. When they told me that figure, I couldn't actually believe.
No.
Because when you have a loss, you feel like the only person in the world. That is the way you feel. You feel like you're the only person that's ever experienced loss. Why is it happening to me? There are 6,000 women just in this county that are dealing with the same thing each year. So,
and some of them will be listening.
Exactly, yeah. And so the books, we're still raising money. I guess the purpose of me sort of promoting it more is so that people can just follow the journey. We've obviously got social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we just want to raise a bit of awareness, get some fundraising ideas if anybody has any. It's a difficult time for asking for money because of bills rising.
Sure.
And, you know, there's a lot of other things that have taken precedent, but we want to get Holding Hearts out there and sort of let people know what we're trying to achieve.
So how do people find out more then? What should they look up? Just Holding Hearts? Would that be the thing on Facebook or whatever?
It's the same tag on each one. So it's Holding Hearts Gloss, GLOS, and it's all one word, and it's the same on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Brilliant. Oh, excuse me. Suddenly going to cough. Hang on a minute. There you are. Talk very much yourselves. Congratulations on everything that you're doing. I'm sorry I'm losing my voice at this moment. Well done, and hopefully we'll speak again. But thank you very much.
Anna King.